What's up, brand builders? Stephen Hurahan here at BrandMasterAcademy.com, and in this video you're going to learn 16 brand strategy mistakes to avoid so you can build brands that are more likely to succeed and avoid the mistakes that your competitors are making to give your brand an edge. Now, if you're new to the channel and you want actionable brand strategy tips and techniques to grow your business, well then click on the subscribe button and the notification bell and you'll be well on your way. Now, the term brand strategy has been around for a long time, but it's becoming more and more relevant in the small to medium business space because previously brand strategy had been reserved for the bigger brands, but small business owners and entrepreneurs are starting to realize the impact and effectiveness of brand strategy and the fact that their brand is far more than just a logo. They understand now that their brand is about their messaging, their consistency, their tone of voice, their personality, the position that they take in the market. And none of this is considered in just the design of a logo. So it is becoming more and more prevalent in today's market. And these business owners and entrepreneurs are realizing that they need a system or somebody with a system to be able to help them to build that strategy. So in this video, I want to give you 16 of the most common brand strategy mistakes so you can avoid what your competitors are doing wrong and give your brand an edge in the market. Mistake number one, revenue tunnel vision. Now, revenue is obviously very important for any business. It's the lifeblood of the business, and without the revenue, then the business or the brand is not going to be there. But those who focus too much on the revenue lose sight of why they're there in the first place. What is it that they're trying to do? Who are they trying to help? And brands that aren't built with any kind of compass in place, any kind of direction as to why they're there and where they're going, it really shows in the communication of that brand. So make sure that your brand doesn't have revenue tunnel vision. Mistake number two, plastic statements. Now, 90% of brands are built without any kind of strategy at all, without any kind of consideration for those strategic elements. And of the ones that are built with strategy, 90% of those are built with a handful of statements, and that's what they believe is the strategy for the brand. They'll mock up a vision statement, a mission statement, a handful of values, and that's all you'll see from those statements. It doesn't really shape anything else within the brand. It doesn't shape any communication. It doesn't shape the position or the messaging. So having plastic statements as your foundation for your brand is not having a brand strategy. Number three, vague target audience. So defining who your audience is really, really important within the brand strategy. And simply categorizing your audience by, let's say, men between 25 and 35, or simply with a few demographics and psychographics is not going far enough. It really doesn't paint a clear picture of who it is that audience is, who exactly you're targeting. You need to really go deep into who the audience is, understand where they're coming from, the journey that they're on, the pain points and challenges that they're going through, and of course, the emotions that are attached to those challenges. Brand strategy mistake number four, following your competitors. Now, traditional competitor research in the small business space goes something like this. What are the best in the business doing, and what do we do to be able to replicate their success? So that's the opposite of what competitive research is all about. Competitive research is about identifying what your competitors are doing well, but more importantly, what they're doing not so well, so you can identify gaps, and those gaps represent opportunities. So don't look to your competitors as to what they're doing well so you can go and replicate that. Look at where they're leaving gaps and opportunities for your brand to come in and take advantage of. Mistake number five, having an undefined position. So of course you need to know exactly who your audience is, what they're feeling, what they're going through, but you also need to be very, very clear on exactly what you're offering them and the value of that offer to them. So knowing who you're targeting, knowing what you're offering, and knowing how they're going to value that offer is really, really important when it comes to positioning, because essentially you're trying to shape the mind of your audience as to why they should remember your brand. And if you don't have a clear position, if your position is undefined, or you're not clearly telling your audience exactly why they should remember your brand, then they're going to forget it. Mistake number six, absent personality. Now, we are bombarded with thousands of marketing messages a day, and we dismiss 99.9% of them. And we only really reserve our attention for messages that feel like they're speaking directly to us. They're talking to us as a person, as an individual, and it feels familiar. The message feels familiar. The characteristics that are being displayed are the characteristics that we're attracted to, and the message is full of those characteristics and full of that personality and talking to exactly what we're feeling and what we're thinking. So make sure that your brand is oozing personality. Brand strategy mistake number 7, an inconsistent brand voice. Now, brands today have tens or hundreds of different touch points where they can put their messages out there, and often you'll find you have different people working on different touch points. So you might have somebody writing the website copy, somebody writing the social media posts, or creating the ads. And if you don't have a consistent brand tone of voice and you don't make sure that these representatives are infusing that tone of voice onto every single touch point, then your brand is going to feel inconsistent. Your audience is everywhere. They're on social media, they're on your website, they might be viewing your ads, and if they see different messages in different places and there's a lack of consistency in that brand voice, well then that will lead to mistrust. Mistake number 8, a lack of authenticity. Now, traditionally brands are well known for being the ones that toot their own horns and spend 99.9% of the time talking about how great they are and why they're better than their competitors. But as consumers today, as modern consumers, our BS radar is a lot more tuned in than consumers in the past. We're able to spot those brands who spend most of the time talking about themselves, and we tend to distance ourselves from those brands. So really take authenticity into your brand communication. Stop making all of your communication about your brand. Make it more about the audience. And when you do talk about the audience, be genuine. Be genuine in your communication and your tone of voice, and make sure that your audience feels that authenticity. Mistake number 9, unclear messaging. Now, within the brand strategy, there are many elements that shape the mind of the audience as to their perceptions of what that brand and the image of that brand should mean to them. And none are more important than the actual brand message itself. So you really need to have a deep understanding of what you want your audience to remember your brand for, and then develop your messaging so it reflects that. So you really need to know what your difference is and communicate that difference. Know what the value of that difference is to your audience and communicate the value of that difference. So really have a framework in place as to the messaging and the perceptions that you want your audience to have of your brand, and then make sure you deliver those messages with those perceptions in mind. Mistake number 10, overlooking the impact and importance of emotion. Now, 95% of our decisions are made within our subconscious limbic system within our brain, and that's the part of the brain that controls emotions. So we don't really make decisions with the logical neocortex at the front of our brain. All of our decisions are really made through that emotional limbic system. And when we consider that all of the challenges and all of the pain points and everything that your audience wants to overcome through the solution that you have for them, every single one of those has an emotion attached to that. When you understand that, and when you understand what that emotion is, then you can talk to that emotion in your messaging. Brand strategy mistake number 11, self-centered stories. Now, brand storytelling is becoming a lot more relevant in modern branding today, and you do have a lot more brands going out there and telling stories to try and connect with their audience. But the biggest mistake that we're seeing with brands doing that and trying to embrace this technique is they're going out there and they're speaking about themselves, and they're telling stories about themselves and making it all about the brand, who the founders are, where they're going, when really storytelling is about the audience. It's about bringing your audience into a story that they can see themselves in, so resonating with who they are and the journey that they're on. So if you are going down the road of brand storytelling, then you need to be telling stories of your customers, the journey they're on, the trials and tribulations they're going through, and then bringing your brand as a small part into that story as their guide to success. Mistake number 12, disconnected copy. Now, I can't tell you how many websites I've been to, and the copy on that website just did not feel like it was talking to me at all. Even though I was the perfect audience for that brand, the copy felt like it was speaking to a wide group of people. It had overly corporate tones, and I really didn't feel connected at all to the copy. And there are so many brands that still do this today. They write generically without really speaking to anybody specifically, and they use overly corporate tones. They don't feel human. So make sure that your brand copy that you're developing on your website, on your social media pages, is really speaking to that specific person. It's not disconnected. It's not talking to a broad range of people. You really get into speaking to who that audience persona is and talking to them as if you're a person talking one-on-one. Mistake number 13, misaligned visual identity. Now, the brand strategy uncovers characteristics that the brand should be displaying in order to make the business and the brand feel more appealing to who the audience is. That's part of what the brand strategy uncovers, what those characteristics are, what that personality is, and how the brand should go about communicating to the audience so that they can resonate with them more effectively. And when it comes to the design of a brand, it's not about trends and styles and, what's in vogue this month or this year. It's about characteristics. It's about connecting your audience with the brand through those characteristics, and visual identity and visual identity design is one of the most effective ways to deliver those characteristics. So make sure your visual identity is aligned with your brand strategy. Mistake number 14, unfocused marketing. Now, uncovering who your audience is also uncovers where they congregate online, where they congregate physically, and having a marketing strategy in place is a coordinated effort to make sure that you're in front of that audience in the right time at the right place. So making sure that your marketing is focused is really, really important. You don't want to try and spread yourself too thin, to try and be everywhere, to try and be on every single platform. Understand where your audience is, where they're congregating, and make a coordinated effort to be there consistently. Commit to whatever that 1, 2, or 3 platforms are, and make sure that you consistently show up time and again so you can start to build that trust. Mistake number 15, automation over audience. So what does that mean? Well, building a business is really about creating processes and systems to ensure that business runs like a well-oiled machine. But sometimes that goes against the grain of what building a brand is all about, because building a brand is about nurturing relationships. And sometimes if you automate too much, then that can impact the nurturing of those relationships. So take a step back and really make sure that there's a balance in automation and audience, and take the time to reply personally to some emails. They don't always have to be through bots or through automated responses. So really make sure that there's a balance there between automation and audience, so you take the time to really nurture those relationships. And brand strategy mistake number 16, impatience. Now, this is definitely one of the most common mistakes I see business owners and entrepreneurs make. If they do even take the time to develop out a brand strategy, they've moved on from just having the logo on the website, and they really look at their messaging and the personality that they're going to use, and they go out and launch their brand. A lot of the times they won't have thought about how long it's going to take to build that brand. A brand is not built overnight. It's not built in a few weeks. It's built over months and years of showing up consistently time and again. So it's not about putting together a Facebook ads campaign, throwing a load of money at it, and then believing that is going to build a brand. It's not what build a brand. It's turning up consistently time and again. So make sure that there is patience involved, that there's an understanding that your brand is being built over the long term. It's not a quick flash in the pan experience, and it will take time to build that brand awareness. Now, if you're developing your own brand, you can own every one of these and make sure that your brand avoids every one of these mistakes. If you're building a brand for a client, on the other hand, then some of these mistakes will be on you to make sure that you avoid those mistakes. And some will be about communicating to your client what they should be prepared for so that they avoid those mistakes in the ongoing management of the brand. If you like this video, if you learned anything new, then please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well. It'll let you know when we've got new videos coming out. If you want more actionable brand strategy tips and techniques like this, well then head on over to BrandMasterAcademy.com and get yourself signed up for the list. It is free, and I will drop those tips and techniques right into your inbox, and I do keep some exclusive content for that list, so get yourself involved. But I'd love to hand it over to you now. What mistakes have you seen other brands make, and have you made any of these mistakes that I've listed here? And if so, what ones are top of your list to avoid with the next brand you build? I'd love to hear from you. If you've got any challenges at all, any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer all of those questions. Until next time, brand like a master, and I will see you in the next video.